Hey guys, I am Trent for Trent Sense, and I am here to talk to all of you about the Nokia E72. Now, a long while back, I had preferred the Nokia E71, which ran the Symbian 3rd Edition operating system. Even though this particular OS did not work out for me and I moved on to something else, there are a number of people out there who still prefer this operating system. Now, I recently received some inquiries from a number of different E71 owners asking whether or not the E72 is a worthwhile upgrade. And my answer would have to be yes, it definitely is. In my opinion, the E72 basically takes the E71 where it left off and goes to a whole different level in regards to its upgrades for both hardware and software. You finally get a 3.5mm headset jack for your regular headphones. You get an upgraded camera that now has 5 megapixels. You get an increase of internal storage capacity. And then you also get an accelerometer that is built into the phone. And then you also get a torchlight function that is activated by holding down the space bar on the QWERTY keypad. And now that I've mentioned the QWERTY keypad, you also get a number of additional buttons on the bottom row as well. And the E72 also brings a much faster processor than the one included on the E71. Oh, and I could not forget to mention the optical trackpad that finally gives you control over the cursor by swiping your fingertip over it. Now, in regards to the software upgrades, I only noticed that there was Feature Pack 2, and the most notable software addition happened to be the free navigation feature on the Ovi Maps application. When you first power on the E72, it is quite easy to assume that you'll get bored with it because it still runs the same old familiar 3rd edition operating system for Symbian that is on the E71. However, the faster processor tends to inject a refreshing boost of speed when it comes to navigating from the different menus back and forth. Even though I was able to eventually get used to the brand new cosmetic changes of the E72, I have to admit and say that I still think that it looks much cheaper than the E71. The prevalence of regular black plastic on some of the body elements really takes away from the high-end quality that I felt from the previous model, which had a more glossy finish. As far as playing back multimedia on the E72, you're not really going to get much of anything different from the E71 or the E75 or any other E-series device that's already out there. You can pretty much bank on the fact that even though the media players are very basic on the E72, they are very capable and they provide good ample sound for the playing back of video content or music. The web browser for the E72 is just as capable, if not better, than the E71, and you still have the tried and true support for Flash videos. Hey guys, this is Trent, and this is part 3 of the Nokia N900 review, where I talk about my personal opinion on the device. The new 5 megapixel lens for the camera does prove to be a godsend when it comes to producing worthwhile pictures as well as improved video quality. I cannot stress to you guys how much better the video quality is on the E72 from the E71. Taking video and playing it back from the E72 proved to be a much more high quality experience with improved frame rate that looked to be much smoother in playback, and you also had a much better color representation on screen as well. Hey guys, this is Trent, and I am doing a video capture test of two Nokia devices today. Now, from what you can see, the video light does appear to get the job done when it comes to illuminating all of the surroundings in capturing video. These cameras do capture video in the MPEG-4 format. Another feature on the camera interface that surprised me was the panoramic mode. Taking a picture in this mode proved to be simple enough as it was, but at the same time it proved to be more of a novelty item and not anything that I would take the time out to use on a regular basis. Now, even though the E72 model that I had was not compatible with T-Mobile 3G, the signal reception for using Edge only was still very strong and very reliable, and I didn't have any dropped calls. Sound quality for taking calls through the earpiece or the speakerphone sounded just as great as the E71.
Menu. To create a greeting, press 3. For mailbox options, press 4. For password security, press 5.
The E72 continues to use the BP4L battery rated at 1500 milliamp hours. This is the same battery that runs on the E71 as well as the legendary E90. And I have to say that there is nothing to worry about in battery life. The E72 lasted me for about a day and a half on one full charge with average usage. Using the Nokia messaging application to access my Gmail inbox on the E72, it proved to be very quick, very reliable, and pretty much stable, considering that it is operating on a non-touch interface. Even though OV Maps is not my application of choice in regards to finding driving directions to places, I have to say that having free navigation is a most amazing move that Nokia could have ever done for these handsets. Now, another thing that surprised me about OV Maps navigation is that the turn-by-turn directions spoken by the phone itself were just as comparable to that of the Google navigation that I am used to using on my Nexus 1.
After 700 yards, keep right, take exit 11 towards US 460/VA168 Compostela Road. After 300 yards, keep left onto Tidewater Drive. After half a mile, keep left and take the exit.
Unfortunately, even after considering the fact that it is running on a non-touch operating system and it is working with a smaller display, I just didn't find the usage experience to be smooth or intuitive at all. In using the E72 as my day-to-day device, there were a number of different elements that had continued from the E71 that I still fell in love with to this day. The QWERTY keypad on the E72 continues where the E71 left off in granting the user a most comfortable and a most accurate typing experience with tactile keys that have just the right amount of tactile feedback to them. The E72 is slim, it's pocketable, it's light. There is no need for a belt clip holster. I can walk around with it in my pants pocket with no problem at all. The notification light. This remains to be a feature that is most useful on the E72, just as it was on the E71. When it comes to creating or maintaining documents, PowerPoints, spreadsheets on your Symbian 3rd Edition device, there is nothing better than the Quick Office application. Another useful aspect of the E72 that I sometimes took for granted was the ability to contact someone very quickly just by typing out their name from the home screen. A number of different cons can come into play when owning the E72. Unless you put the phone on a flat surface, there is a higher risk of sound being muffled from the back speaker. Since I happen to be on the topic of the speaker, I may as well go ahead and tell you guys that I do think that the E71 has a much brighter and crisper sound in playing back audio content. One huge problem that I ran into on the default music player was not being able to play back non-DRM music files purchased from iTunes. Whenever I try to play back one of these iTunes files, it plays the first 2 seconds of the file and then it skips on to the next song. The optical trackpad for me is more of a novelty item. Using the touch command on the optical trackpad really just got on my nerves because it tended to not be as accurate or as fast as the D-pad. So I eventually just turned off the feature. The next 2 words that I would like to describe as a downside can not only be applied to the E72, but it may as well be applied to the entire Symbian OS as well, both 3rd edition and 5th edition. OV store. When you take into consideration the alternatives for Android, iPhone, and even Windows Mobile, the OV store experience is quite sad. It really is. The libraries of applications for right now, or for the time that I had the E72 and the N97, the selection was really sad. It was very paltry. And I really did not feel the need to want to go into the application to buy anything. To be quite honest, the only redeeming factor of the OV store was gravity. And that was it. No ifs, ands, or buts. The OV store is subpar, and Nokia really needs to pick it up to bring some improvements to it soon. GooSync operates much like the Missing Sync software application, where all of the PIM data from my Google account is synced with my Nokia device. And so once I decided to try out the E72, I gave GooSync a try. And when I did finally become successful at syncing my contact information and my calendar information, I noticed that there were a number of duplicates in my contacts, and I had to go in and correct all of that manually. So basically, when it comes to syncing my PIM data on a Nokia, I would simply have to go back to using Missing Sync. And that's all there is to it. Now, it is no secret that today's smartphone industry consists of users who are gravitating to mainly touchscreen devices like the Nexus 1, the Galaxy S, the Evo 4G, the iPhone. In the midst of all of these touch operating systems, it's quite easy to somehow look at the E72 and snub it and dismiss it as, a thing of the past. Truth be told, there are many users out there that still prefer a non-touch operating system, whether it comes from Symbian, Windows Mobile, or what have you. They are out there. And I have to say that for those users, the E72 could be a worthwhile device to adopt as your main phone. If you happen to be an E71 owner who is teetering between whether or not you should buy it, I would have to say you won't be sorry when you go ahead and buy this E72. The list of upgrades that come from the hardware and the software aspects, they really do outweigh the potential cons. So my advice is, as a Symbian 3rd edition operating system user, the E72 is a worthwhile and most appreciative upgrade that should be taken advantage of very soon. This ends my review on the Nokia E72. With all of that being said, you guys take care and stay safe.